The Wild West is a world of pure agony and despair. It is a world that has already made me lose my sanity and question my life choices, and it's only the third world in this run. But before we begin, if you have missed my previous videos, I highly recommend checking them out through the playlist on screen, and while you're at it, why don't you subscribe so we can bring about the second coming of Christ, known as Garden Warfare 3. The Wild West starts off with the plants continuing to verse the zombies on day 1, and it is on this day where I continue to expand my knowledge of PvZ2. It's on this day that I learned I could actually stack the sad tomato on top of each other to exponentially increase its damage. Kind of like the pea pod, but a bit more freaky. With this newfound tomato power, we bested day 1 and 2 with ease. However, on day 2, I did want to test the extreme power of this sad tomato, so I placed 2 of them on minecarts just to see how powerful they were, and lo and behold, I managed to beat this day with only the tomatoes. That's how broken they are. Day 3 was more of the same, passed easily with tomato stacking, and on day 4, we had a conveyor belt day, so I'm just going to skip over to day 5. On day 5, we are introduced to another new zombie type, the shit fit zombies. These little shits can sometimes have the health of a standard brown coat, or they could sometimes have the health of a bucket hat zombie, which in the past would have made this run very difficult. Fortunately, our new tomato stacking strategy managed to clear this day with only a single sad tomato. What the fuck? Unfortunately, my newfound confidence in this premium plant was starting to shake, since day 6 was starting to get a little bit tricky. Of course though, a gamer of my caliber managed to clear it with just the sad tomatoes and the artichoke, and the same goes for day 7, with it being cleared once again with only a couple of sunflowers and tomatoes. All was going well so far. The last 7 days are a complete walk in the park. Day 8 was a conveyor belt day, and day 9 was a day that I needed to beat with given plants. However, day 10 is where it all went to shit. This day introduced me to the worst enemy on this entire world, the chicken fucker zombie. Now, for the next 10 seconds or so, I'm going to explain why I hate this guy, so children, cover your ears. The chicken zombie is a piece of shit wanker who needs to go jump into the fiery inferno of hell along with the likes of Donald Trump, Hitler, and Andrew Tate. Now, the reason I hate the chicken zombie is simple. He will unleash his monstrous dinosaur army upon my plants at a random point, and since all of my plants are pretty slow firing, they overwhelm them quicker than you can say squawk to her. I was so close on several occasions. In fact, I nearly had it most of the time, until one random ass chicken just decided to break through my defences and poke my pecker till I pecked. Now, I just knew I wouldn't be able to beat this day with this strategy. The chicken's placement, I swear, depends so heavily on luck. I had to try something else, so I had to bring out another staple of every British garden, and one that I've shown briefly at the start of this challenge, a plant I call Death Incarnate. I am bringing out the mints, specifically the Sun Mint and the Holy Mint. Now with this lineup, I somehow managed to luck my way through this day by the skin of my teeth. I hate this zombie with every fibre of my being, and I am not looking forward to seeing him again. Now that I have vented all my frustrations, now is the perfect time to announce I have returned to Twitch, and I'm going to continue streaming this journey over at twitch.tv/Whoie, so come and give me a follow before I steal your toes. On a more positive note, day 11 was a walk in the park with an extra goal of not spending more than 500 sun, which didn't matter since my premium plants carried me through it. And day 12 was another conveyor belt day. It was the same for day 13 as well, with nothing notable happening other than being introduced to the bull and imp zombie, but they didn't pose any sort of threat whatsoever. Moving on to day 14, I was starting to get a little worried again. I genuinely don't know how I failed this day. Did a fucking feather kill me? I guess we'll never know. But in the end, I did manage to pass this day without too much of my sanity being lost to the void. Going on to day 15, we couldn't lose more than 2 plants, which was a walk in the park once again. But on day 16, we had to protect our endangered nut. Now, I had a strategy for this day from my last challenge. I just vigorously rubbed my nut up and down until the day climaxes and I win. However, it was on this day that my partner came to me and informed me that our sunflowers in our garden do actually have multiple heads.
Now you tell me they've all got multiple heads.
Oh, you're silly.
This whole time I could have been using the double sunflower to produce twice as much sun. I really wish I knew this back on day 10, but at least it should make the rest of this world easier. Day 17 was made trivial due to our new double sunflower. However, day 18 was not one I enjoyed whatsoever. Within 30 seconds of entering this day, I was overwhelmed by cock, and I instantly failed. I knew for this day I would need bold new plan, and I came to yet another realisation. These chickens have literally 1 HP, so a tickle from anything would kill them all off. I just needed a low damage but consistent plant, so I questioned what else there would be in a typical British garden. That's when I realised we had brambles returning to our garden.
Bramble.
This means I can put to use the spikeweed. Even with this newfound power, this day was still hard as nails, but the chickens didn't stand a chance, and in the end they were all slaughtered and I managed to actually beat the day. After the painful slog that was day 18, the rest of the days were pretty standard, but somehow I managed to fail day 19 since I completely forgot about the sun limitation and my stupid ass decided to plant down a melon. Moving on to day 20, we had to deal with yet another conveyor belt day, and day 21 was a flower trampling day, where I once again had another close call because of the prostator zombie. This fucker nearly gave me some back shots, but luckily I ended his ass before he could reach my flowers. Day 22 was another given plant day, and day 23 was yet another day where we had to protect Dave's stupid fucking flower beds, and it was here that I discovered that these stupid chickens can trample these flowers. I mean, how the hell do they manage that? They've only got tiny tasty feet. But thankfully, I brambled up my garden and saved the day. These chickens committed suicide and I won. The final proper day of this world was day 24, where I had to protect these nuts, but with the spikeweed and my strategy of vigorous stroking my nuts up and down, I managed to beat this day quite easily. Now with all the days out the way, we can approach the boss of this world with our good old friend Ares, who smites him down for all of his sins, but not before these chickens wanted to get me to know my place. Somehow, even with the help of the gods, these little shits took out my mower and nearly came pecking for my pecker once again. Thankfully, Zomboss went down on me before that could happen, allowing me to finally beat the Wild West. I'm actually finally starting to stress out about this challenge. The third world should have not been this difficult. Maybe that just says something about my Plants vs Zombie skills, or maybe it says something about my lack of intellect, but either way, I'm very nervous for the next couple of worlds. But I suppose that's a problem for a later date, and I hope to see all of you in the next episode, where I continue to lose my mind.